Yeah, I am on the road. I'm headed on my way to Massachusetts. I'm about halfway there. I should have been there 2 hours ago, but there was some kind of major accident that I was just sitting in traffic for like an hour and change. When I finally passed by that accident, yikes, it had to be fatal when I saw the condition of those multiple cars. There was like an 18 wheeler, and then there was like multiple cars on the side, and the jaws of life had to be used on a few cars. So, you know, better late than never, because you never know. Ooh, you never know. But I titled this How I Shifted My Take on Winning. Now, if you asked my mom this, she would probably deny all of this because her take on how she was in my life and my take on how she was in my life, two different things. But my family was very into winning, and I don't know if I would say that I was very into winning or I was not very into winning, but at the very least, I was very used to winning. Whether that was like sports competitions, whether that was spelling bees, whether it was music competitions, like saxophone competitions, piano competitions, whatever it was, academically, sports, music, whatever it was that I was into, I would win quite a bit. But the winning felt like a pressure as a child, as anybody who was like a child who was put into a lot of different things with high expectations. Because some families and some parents don't actually, I mean, every parent wants their kid to win at something, but at the same time, some people are like, you tried your best, you know, your best is good enough. And I didn't have that family. Um, if I tried and I did okay, it was kind of like, oh, you did okay. I knew clearly that they were not happy with my performance and whatever it was. And therefore, I didn't feel any sense of satisfaction when I got a participation trophy. So I was just bred to be like, if I didn't win, then what does this mean? I even remember this piano competition that I did, that I came in second place, and they complimented me, like the judges of the competition, they complimented me. They gave me a scholarship, and they told me that I have a lot of talent and that I should foster that talent and that I could become something great. But all I was thinking about was, I'm not in first place. So therefore, I don't care about your scholarship. I don't care about the second place. Not a trophy. It was like a second place certificate that I was given. I didn't care about any of that because I did not win. So it took away my love for doing all these different things. As I grew and I became an adult, I was like, I don't even want to participate in things that I'm not going to win at. But winning at things as an adult is different, because as a child, I feel like as a child, if you're talented, you can actually beat somebody who works harder than you. You can still beat them. But I feel like to commit to something that requires talent as an adult in your adult life, people are giving up valuable time and hours. Like, you go to work, you spend time with your family, but you're like, I want to be a really great writer. You don't just casually write and then you just win some kind of award for that. Or you don't just casually become like a New York Times bestseller. To relate, High River, and I'm always good at sports. I was good at many different sports: basketball, football. I was pretty good at soccer. That was not my best sport. I was decent at volleyball. I was pretty good at football. I was generally good at almost all the sports that I participated in. There's a couple of them, like baseball. I could not hit a baseball to save my life. I was so bad at the batting. I was good in the outfield, but I was terrible at batting. My batting percentage was extremely low. But I was good at most sports. And I've mentioned this before, but I remember when I first started doing long distance running. And that was when I was already, I want to say 28, 29, something like that. I was almost 30 at that point. So I was like, you know what? I want to give this a try. So I gave it a try. And I started to do races, and I felt like I'm just going to... Long distance running and sprinting, two different things, two extremely different things, which I learned the hard way. Because I remember we had this Thanksgiving race, which is something I do every year now, a Thanksgiving Day race before we do our eating and stuff. And I lined up towards the front of the line because I'm like, I'm going to start at the start line. And then I remember these guys were like, move back. And I'm like, who are they to tell me to move back? You paid for the race, I paid for the race. So there is no move back. Like, I'm standing right here. Eventually they went out and they lined up like right at the front of the line. And I lined up in the next row behind them. That's all I would concede. And then, the guy did the horn. 3, 2, 1, pressed the horn. And I was keeping up with them. And I was like, look at these guys who told me to move back. And here I am, just as fast as they are. Because I was going at their pace. So I started to get tired about, I want to say, a quarter of the way through the race. I started to get really tired because they were prepped, and they were people who were, the reason they told me to move back, I've learned now from doing several different races that it's like an etiquette to it. If you're one of the people who is in the race, then those few seconds in the start line actually matter. For me, they don't matter because I'm just trying to do the best that I can, get the fastest time that I can. But for them, if they have to be running around you, this place is so confusing. If they have to be running around you, they lose a few seconds, and that could be the difference between winning and losing. But anyways, I was trying to run the race at their pace. And because I was trying to run the race at their pace, I gassed out early. And then I finished much slower than I would have if I had just gone at my own pace. Long story short, I was like, you know what? They're just better than me right now, because these are people who train to do this. They probably spend hours and hours a week running and eating well and all this stuff. And thanks for whichever mod did that. Running and training and eating well, and I could just work harder and beat all these people eventually, because that's just what I was used to. So I started training really hard. I started running and practicing and stuff. And then I was like, the next time I see these guys, I know I'm going to win. So what ended up happening was I saw some of those same people again, and I did not win. I was not even close to winning. And I started to realize, like, you don't become first place in everything that you do. You get into a race where there's 400, 300 other people that you're running against, you're not necessarily going to win. And a matter of fact, you're not going to win unless you are exceptional. You're one of the top people. And it started to make me feel depressed about racing. Because I was like, what's the point of racing if you can't win? What's the point of doing anything if you cannot win? And I had to shift my mentality on what winning meant for me. Because I started to realize that life is a race against yourself. I mean, yes, there are a few elite people that enter into these races and their goal is like first or nothing. And kudos to those people. They dedicate their lives and they dedicate a lot of time. I feel like everybody who wins those types of things, they earn it. And I don't mean they earn it on race day. I mean, they earn it with all the time they spend getting ready. They earn it with all the reps that they do at the gym. They earn it with all of the foods that they eat. They earn it with all the practice that they've done to get to that point. They deserve it. Most people are not in that bracket. A few people are. I'm not. At least I'm not for that. There's probably other aspects of my life where I work harder than other people and I'm better at things than other people, but not specifically in that like fitness realm. So I started to get to a point where I'm like, success for me and winning for me is like what I just said. The time that I put in, the preparation that I spend doing the race, the shape that I have to be in to achieve the best time that I can possibly do is the win. The race is only going to be 1 hour. Let's say, depending on the length of the race, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. I did a 3-hour race a month or two ago on the Poconos Mountain, and that was a hell of a long time. But typically it's not going to be more than 2 hours that I'm out running and doing any race. So that's a temporary thing. But if I prepped myself, if I prepared myself, if I did all the work, if I am in a shape that I am happy with, that I'm proud of, if I have pushed myself to my limits, and I have achieved more than I would have achieved without having that race in the picture, then I had some form of win. And now I kind of take winning to just mean I did the best me that I can do, because nobody else has my circumstances. Nobody else has my life. Nobody else has the variables in my life. I know that generally we all have some parallels. There are some things that are just a part of the human experience for everybody, but each of us has our unique blueprint. Somebody might have the time to dedicate all of that to those races because who knows? There might be some other aspect of their life where that frees up their time to be able to do that, or make them discipline, or maybe there's some kind of purpose that they're doing it for. Like when I was in my best racing shape, I was doing that as a coping mechanism, because watching the type of decline that my dad had was really hard. So I said to myself, number one, I don't want to face a similar fate one day, but like number two, this is a great form of healthy stress relief. So that was my motivation at that time. But your win, always get these calls. But I'm going to hop back on. I'll be back.